Hello, so today we will learn how to install SvelteKit with Svelte 4 and Tailwind CSS 3 and how to use it to style your designs. And if we come back in here, you see that we also created special classes for buttons so that we don't have to repeat all the CSS. But with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so what we want is a Svelte, but since we want to build an applications, we might want to install SvelteKit, which is developed by the same author. And this will provide, in addition to reactivity, it will provide routing, it will provide many goodies that are very interesting to develop an application so that you don't have to implement um, for different libraries that are not made for it specifically. So let's go and look for SvelteKit right here, and we can go and click on read the docs, and we must go to creating a project, and here we are. So we will use npm to install this SvelteKit, but if you don't have npm installed, what you can do, if you are on Windows, you go to Google and look for Node.js, click go to download, and you download the Windows installer. And then you will have npm and node. So once you have done that, we're going to use this command right here. So in the folder you want to install, right click, open in a terminal, and here in the terminal what you need is to write npm, and then you will write here your project, right? So and right here it asks us what do we want to install. So they have a demo app that has some files already pre-configured, or a free skeleton, or a simple skeleton project, which I am recommending. So you use up and down arrows to select, and then you press enter, and then add type checking with TypeScript. Yes, I personally prefer TypeScript, but Svelte is going towards simple JavaScript with GSDoc comments. What this essentially does is that you won't be using TypeScript, but the advantage is your computer will not have to compile TypeScript to JavaScript every time you click Control Save. So that is a thing, but I definitely prefer TypeScript, so I'm going to use this. And then what you may want for your project is prettier formatter and Sling for code linting. And I press spacebar to select them or deselect, and the rest is not needed. So we click enter, and then it is installed. And then I don't need this anymore because I want to use it in VS Code. So I do something like this, then open folder, project, and then select the folder you have created, then select it. And in here, what you will see is the project that was created from the command line. But what we need is to open a terminal here in this folder. And with VS Code, what you can do is Control G, like Julian, okay? And here you type npm I to install. And it will install everything that is in the package.json. And it will create a nodes module folder with everything and SvelteKit folder as well. Okay, so that's been installed. And the next step is to install Tailwind. But before doing that, actually, we want to run, if we look at the package.json, we can actually execute these commands, and we can run dev, npm run dev, or build to build the project, or and preview after it was built. But what we want to do now is to type npm run dev, and it will serve the project will create like a server on port 5173. And if we control click this link, we will be taken to the SvelteKit project. So it was created and it actually now shows that it works. So what we actually see here is stored in the source, routes, and plus page.svelte. And this is where you see the content that you saw there. And here you can do all the, how do I say this, reactivity stuff. If we create a script, like that, and I'm gonna write language equals TypeScript, and then let count equals 1, right? And what we can do, we can write the value of the variable here with just simple curly brackets, and we write count. As soon as we press Control Save, the server is going to reload, and we are going to see the value here. And since it is reactive, we can add a button. So let's write a button, right? And on that click, here what we can do, we can either create a function like that on the fly. Sorry, like that. And we can do something like count plus 1. Sorry, my keyboard is in another layout. I'm waiting for the US layout to arrive. And here we can augment or increment or something like that. And if we click here, nothing happens. It's because we did not increment it. We just show the result. So what we do now, it will, every time we click here, it increments the variable and it is reactive. We just created it here and we show it here and we increment it here and it is reactive. And that's the Svelte power. That's what I like about it. And the other thing that is nice is the SvelteKit here that we just installed adds routes by default, and the routes, they are made with the folder structure. So here we have a plus page that is a reserved name for Svelte. That means that in this folder, this is the default page that will show. And if we want to create another say for example a slash about, what you will want to do then is to create a folder called about, right? And then in that folder, you're gonna create a file named pluspage.svelte. And in here, you can write your code about, right? And now we just basically created the slash about. If we go here and write slash about, you will see that you get the about page, which is great. So these are just some basic stuff that I am showing. If you want to go further, you can use the Svelte tutorials. I'm just going to show you another thing, like how you can create a layout so that if you want to have a menu that shows on all the pages, you go to the root of the folder. You want all the subfolders to have that layout. That means all the routes under that folder. You can click on the folder you want the layout and create a new file. And another Svelte reserved name is that layout, that's Svelte. And now here, if I write something like header, for example, and then I write slot like that, that means that the pages that are in all the subfolder will show here, and then the layout will include it in itself. So if we look here, we have header, and we are at about. And if we go to the home page, we have header, and we are at the home page. And what we can do with this is maybe to create a navigation, and then LE. Let's create an anchor. Let's call this home, like that, and then let's go about, and it will just go to about. And just like that, we just create a navigation. And in SvelteKit, you don't have to write anything just other than the href itself, and that is good to go. So Control Save, and here we have the navigation. And if I click on About, it works. If I click on Home, it works. And this is a footer. Let's add a footer here. Footer. All right, and we will style it a little bit. I'm sorry. We see the footer. We will style it a little bit after we install Tailwind. So now to install Tailwind, what we must do is go to, if we look for Tailwind SvelteKit, and we go to the official Tailwind website, where they show you the guide to install it on SvelteKit. What you see here is that first you have your project that we already did. We created the SvelteKit project. And then we need to install Tailwind CSS, post CSS to remove the unused Tailwind classes, and to make your application lighter, and then auto prefixer and all that stuff. So let's copy this, and in here I'm gonna stop it with Control C, and then I'm gonna install these three. All right, let's follow along the tutorial, the guide. So the next thing is to write npx init. Control C. Let's go to the terminal. Let's run it. So what this actually did is create the Tailwind config and post CSS config files. And here, if you go to Tailwind, you have all that. We might have to configure this file. Let's follow along with the guide. First, we go to the Svelte config, and we must add this preprocessor. And I think that it is added already. So let's go to the Svelte config here. And yes, it is added. It was added. Preprocessor is added in the vid process. So it is already there. Next, we go to the Tailwind, and we must say what files to process. So we must go to the Tailwind here, Tailwind config, and in the content, we are gonna add the files. So that what this actually does is it looks the source folder, which is actually this folder, and it looks all the folders into all the folders and all the names, all the files that are .html, .js, .svelte, or .typescript, and look for Tailwind classes. All right. And next, what we want to do is to add the Tailwind CSS components, and it says to do it in an app.css file, and we must do it at the root of the source here, so that it appears next to these two. So new file, app.css, and in here we copy this. All right, and paste it. And I'm gonna show you this in a little bit, what's going on with unknown rule, but let's carry on for now. And it also says to create a layout file in the routes that we already did. And in this file, we must import this CSS file that we just did. So let's do that. So in the routes, here we have the layout, and we just created this file. If not, you must create it, and then you add the script that imports this, but I'm gonna make it lang.ts, because if I want to add TypeScript after that, I can. Now we should be able to use Tailwind. So let's run npm run dev and see it for ourselves. So npm run dev, and it started. If I go back to it, it refreshed because it found the server again. And what we see is that the styles have gone. They have been a reset have been applied by Tailwind CSS, and then that means we have it installed and we can start using it. Let's make a test to see if it works. In the layout here, what we want to do maybe is to create a div, and let's call it BG Gray 400, and then press tab, and that created a div with that Tailwind class. And if you don't have IntelliSense, there is a plugin for that for Svelte. Actually, there are different plugins that you must install for if you are using VS Code with Svelte. The first one is Prettier. Then you must install Svelte for VS Code and enable the IntelliSense plugin when it is prompting you to do. And then you must install Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, and that will give you all this IntelliSense that you see here, right? And if we put this inside, maybe add a padding Y of 4 and a text white, and see if it applied the classes. It did, so that's great. Next, let's see if we can do something nice with these. So let's say class flex, justify center, and gap 3. Let's see. Great, so it placed them here, about, home. Then the footer itself and the content. So let's wrap the content in a div like that, and class py p5 with a border and rounded border because we can. There you go. And also a margin. Let's actually give some margin y of 5, margin x auto to center it, and let's give it a width of 2 out of 5 here. And then that means all the pages are going to be placed in here. Let's give it 3 to make it larger, and this is it. And then for your footer, you can do add a border top and border purple 600 py5 padding on the y-axis, and yeah, also text center. So here we have the footer, here we have the content, and here we have the header. But actually this border top I don't like it, so maybe let's use BG purple 500/20. That means that this color is going to render at 20% transparency. See? So it's going to look like this. Let's go back to the folder system here. If we go to the main page, we see the home page here, and if we click augment, it does augment, but we don't know this is a title, and we don't know this is a button. So let's change this a little bit. So for example, this we're going to add a class of font bold text XL. Okay, so this increased, but the button itself, we want to give it maybe some classes like Bootstrap, where we can write button primary, and that's it. If we write this right now, nothing happens, but we will do it in a second. Let's just customize this button to see how we want it. So BG blue 500, then text white, rounded, py2 px4, and I think that's great already. We see that this is a button now, but if we want to have the hover state, we can do something like this: hover blue 400, like that. And if we come back, we have the hover state, and if we click it, it does augment, so it does its job. Okay, so the next thing is that we want to go apply these classes to the button class. What we want to do is go back to the app.css that we just created earlier, and what we can do is to create the classes here. So we might want to create a button class that will contain some of let's close this file, will contain some of the things like rounded and the padding like that. And to apply these, there is a Tailwind directive that we can use, and that is apply, and it should work. And also we might want to create the button primary that will apply. So this we can close. It will apply all this. So if we go in, we write apply this, then we're good to go. And we come here and we write just button primary. And if we come back here, our button still works. But if we duplicate it and write success, and if we come here, it does not have the success one, but we can create it. Now button, we don't have to duplicate it. We just have to create a success button. So call it like this, and then success is going to be green. Hover is going to be green. Save. And now it works. We have green and we have blue. So now we have the Bootstrap. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What did I say? We have Tailwind in SvelteKit. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is to get rid of these errors, unknown at rule apply, unknown at Tailwind. What you can do is to go to File, Preferences, Settings. Then you go here on top right, you have Open Settings JSON. And you may have some things, you may have nothing, you may have a lot of things. What you must add in this file is this code here. And this will associate, of course you must add a comma there. This will associate this file with Tailwind CSS. And that means that the Tailwind directive error will be gone and these errors will be gone. And it still works. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, that will help me a lot. If you want to ask a question, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. Thank you very much, and see you next time.